slipping away, yeah. Just like I am dreaming, walking around in this love haze. I wanna stay in this feeling, but let me know that I am safe here in your arms. I wanna stay, stay. I'm slipping away, oh. So don't let me go now. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. But baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. Baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control, out of control. I'm in love. I'm in love. Deep in love with you, baby, yeah. 'Cause your love is exceptional. Ooh. It's out of control, out of control. It's out of control, but I love the rush, yeah. Out of control, out of control. Oh, it overflows. Ooh, your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, but baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control. It's exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control. Baby, I love the rush. Come on, yeah. Out of control, I'm in love. Oh, I'm slipping away. So don't let me go, nah, 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 nah. I'm all up in that love haze. So where do we go, nah, nah? Just let me know that I am safe here in your arms. I wanna stay, stay. I'm slipping away. So don't let me go now. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. Oh baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control, out of control. I'm in love. I'm in love. Yeah. I'm slipping away, yeah. Just like I am dreaming, walking around in this love haze. I wanna stay in this feeling, but let me know that I am safe here in your arms. I wanna stay, stay. I'm slipping away, oh. So don't let me go now. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. But baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. Baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control, out of control. I'm in love. I'm in love. Deep in love with you, baby, yeah. 'Cause your love is exceptional. Ooh. It's out of control, out of control. It's out of control, but I love the rush, yeah. Out of control, out of control. Oh, it overflows. Ooh, your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, but baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out
Hello and good evening or good morning. I don't know where you're dialing in from, but I sent you a warm welcome from Braunschweig in Germany. Yeah, for all my German audience, this this session will be held in English, and I hope at the end of the session you will stay there because we are going to edit the video afterwards with subtitles. Also bleibt dran, wir werden das Video hinterher mit Untertiteln versehen und starten heute in Englisch. So for all English participants, no problem, we stay English because I have a guest, a very special guest. And yes, this is Heather Martinez. Hello, we can see you now. It's so good to have her here. She is, for me, she's
Hi.
the goddess of lettering, and it's so incredible. She took a lot of experiences. She did a lot of traveling, first to learn the best from the best calligraphers, and then she took her markers out and said, okay, I think we can do this with a marker. And she discovered a lot of marker styles or lettering styles. And yeah, this is what I discovered from Heather. And so for this reason, she's the lettering queen. Goodness. So say hello, applause for Heather.
Hi, Zandra. Thank you so much for having me on today. This is so exciting. So, thank you. Yes, I have spent a lot of time with a lot of different master calligraphers, sign painters, and graffiti artists. And every time I take a class, I take my markers with me. And I love to say that every tool that I've ever worked with these experts, I can translate into a Neuland marker. So, thank you so much for having me today, but also for us to come together and talk about how we've been using the new Big One art.
Yes, the big one
Hey.
art. This is the reason why we are here together. And yes, we want to use this great marker, and yes, we prepared a small agenda for you. Do you think I should show the agenda now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is the agenda. Oh no, this is the agenda. No, this is the agenda. Host and flip chart. So first, welcome. This is done. Okay. What's in here for you? First, we want to talk to you about colors. Colors with a big one art. This is great because this marker is made for color, to put a lot of color onto your flip charts or onto your paper or wherever. So then we'd like to give the world a lot more sparkle because make your words more sparkle. Perhaps you remember the Twinkle session a couple of years ago, and Heather said, this is crazy, so she said that it's possible to use this big one art for Twinkle. So remember, Twinkle was this nice, small, drawn lettering style, and now she wants to do this the with this marker. I'm sure it will be surprising. And then we like to practice with the big one art a bit on the flip chart, or what can you do with it. And at the end of this little session, we want to hear from you. What else can you do with the big one art? Or do you have any questions? This is our Q&A session. Yes, and then it's done. And after that, for the Europeans or for the Germans, it's time for dinner. And for the American people, it's time for lunch, isn't it, Heather?
Yes, that's right. It'll be lunchtime when we finish up here. Actually, it'll be early lunch, but for most of us, yeah.
Yeah. So, do we start with a color? I love this color stuff. Or what is
Actually, let's talk a little bit about what's the first thing that we made using the
ah
Big One art. And I'd love to hear from people in the chat too. So, what
yes.
was one of the first things when you opened up your very first Neuland Big One art? What was the first mark you made? What was the first thing that you did? And would you like me to show what I did?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Please show
Well,
it.
so I cannot find the original. I was looking for it last night, but I couldn't find it. But if you get a copy of Neuland's new Handsome Markers for
Yes.
Creative People guide, it's full of
Oh, yes,
lots
I'm in
of
there. Have you seen?
examples. I know you are. I know you are. And the first thing that I made when I got all of my markers, I have to tell you the very first thing I made, I wrote all over a flip chart writing with a marker that Guido sent me, but this was before they were being produced. But once
Oh,
they started to be
the
produced, he sent me
prototype.
some markers and I created what's
This
called a
looks great.
palimpsest. And so a palimpsest is where we write down letters over letters over letters. Now there's historical palimpsest, but this is a modern day palimpsest. So here I'm using, let's see, one, two, three, four different
Yeah.
colors, but this is all done with the big ones. So you can see the really big letters all the way
Hmm.
to the really small letters. So it's very versatile.
And you did them
Yeah.
all with the big one art? All these
Yes.
letters? So I thought
Yes.
first,
All
so
of these
she did
letters.
perhaps the yellow ones and the red ones, but they were all. So it's great. So you don't need any other markers. So it's good to have this here today because
Mhm.
we go on vacation, and so why not just take this with us?
That's right. So I did. I went on I called it the Big One Art Adventure. And I traveled across the desert and I did several drawings just using the Big One art. Yeah.
This is great. So let's have a look in the chat. So what's in the chat? So, oh, there's Lisa in the chat from Neuland. That's great for the questions around materials. So, ask Lisa. So, at Neuland.com, thank you for being with us here. And let's see. Let's see what did they do. So, perhaps it's because of the delay. People are not haven't written that in the chat.
Oh, I
We have
love
to
this.
come
Sunshine.
back.
Yeah, Sunshine wrote the sentence graphic recording is great for being pelted with compliments. That's fantastic.
Oh yes, great. So now I can see. What did you first with the big one art marker? So I love the way it made my letters look. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So it would
That's
be
right.
great to have these these examples in this live session, but it's just a YouTube live stream. So, but if you share, if you like to share it later on, perhaps on Instagram, please let us know, and we will show you our Instagram later, so you can put us in your post, and so we can see it.
That's right.
Okay. And now, colors, colors,
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah. Let's talk about color.
Yes. So let's see. You did some very special thing. This ombre. Are you going to show us the ombre stuff?
That's right. Yes, I would
Yes.
love to show ombre. And I just want to remind folks if you haven't already, check out the handout. And I'm going to put that in the chat. In the handout, you're going to see. I'm looking around for my keyboard. In the handout, you're going to find not only the ombre exercise, which you can also find that on, I think it's on Neuland's Learn. But what you're going to want, if you want to ombre along with me, are at least 3 colors that are analogous to each other. And I'm starting with warm colors. So I have the 500 yellow, the 600 orange, and the 200 red, or you can use 601 if you have it. And so that's what I'll be using. And I'm going to be writing in the style of sign painter, but of course you can use whatever style you want. And I'm going to do this a couple of times. So let's check this out, shall we? All right.
Yes.
So having these 3 markers, and I'm just going to be using the hand lettering learning pad. And what's really great about this size is that usually when we're writing, and this was designed for the #1 art marker, we have 3 lines here. But in all honesty, when we're doing sign painter, and you can go even larger with different lettering styles, I'm going to use from the baseline here, and let me zoom in.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to use the baseline here to the baseline here to do an entire letter. And I'm going to go ahead and write out, let's see, because these are warm, I'm going to write out the word
Wow,
fire.
this color. I love it.
And I'm writing really fast and I'm writing really big, right?
Oh, fire.
And so that's with the yellow. And then I'm going to start at the top again because it's much easier to go the same direction that we went when we first wrote it. And I'm going to go about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way down with the orange.
That's great.
So what's great is you want to start with the light color and end with the darker color. And then
We have to have a drum roll next time for that.
it is, yeah, it's juicy. I see Sunshine wrote that it's juicy. You can see the reflection as I write it, right? And then at the very top, we're just going to do the very top. And so, yeah, so Zandra inspired me to do this. So now you see this ombre effect. And it's a little bit hard to see on this type of paper because it's so very absorbent. But when we're working on nice, clean, white paper from across the room, you're really going to see a difference in these colors.
Yes, yes.
Ah.
And then you put some black on it to
Yes,
make
we
it more crisp.
Sure, we certainly
it?
can.
Yeah.
For when we're working really large, I would suggest using maybe the fine one. But if you're working small, say sketch note or just a smaller size, you might use a sketch one.
Yeah.
You could also use a number one. Here is where it's really important that you use the outline to define the shape. And what I mean by that is that doesn't necessarily mean you're following exactly.
Oh,
I'm
this is
okay if
great.
I have some white spots or if some spots kind of
That helps me
overlap.
a lot.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like permission, right?
Yes.
But you do want to define the letters. So that black is going to determine, and I kind of messed up a little bit there because it's a little too straight.
No.
But what you want to do, and in all of these lines, they don't have to connect. This can either be very expressive, meaning it looks like it's going very quickly. Like this.
Seems to be moving. If there's a bit more white in it, so you have the feeling
Yeah.
that this is a real fire. So that moves a bit. So in the F, I like this white there above.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you say, "Oh, I don't know," but I think that this is great. So because this is fire, this is a fiery subject. This is a very
Right.
special subject. Yeah, yeah.
That's right. And then also in the handout, you'll see that I'm suggesting using a gray, and I would use a light gray. I like the 101. That definitely comes in a big one. If you have some of the smaller, like the number 1 art markers, I like the lighter 106, 107, 108. And then, of course, it's totally up to you where you put your shadows.
Yeah.
I just suggest that whether you put them on the lower left or the lower right, just be consistent. I know that a lot of Bacablo folks put theirs in the lower right. I do mine on the lower left because that's how a lot of sign painters do it. And I'll show you why.
And
Because
so
on the
do
letter
I.
E, on the letter E, we would only have 1, 2, 3, 4 shadows. But if I were to do it Bacablo style, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shadows. So I'm always thinking about what's fast. And so that's the ombre effect with an outline and a drop shadow.
Great, love it. So can you see the flames on the right side? So this yellow light, nice little flames coming out of the
Yeah. So this is a great example where we can kind of fix our mistakes, right? So I was going too fast. I
No
made that way too wide. And so having that black outline really shows what that is. If I wanted to go back, I could correct it. But honestly, when I'm working as a graphic recorder, I work so quickly, I don't worry about things like that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So and now I had to try it on a flip chart, right?
Okay, let's see your flip chart. I can't wait.
Yeah, the flip chart. This is the flip chart. So yes, you have, perhaps you have seen it on Instagram yesterday, but Heather inspired me to use this ombre style also on a flip chart. So I started with yellow, and it's great. So the fire is a bit too big for a flip chart. I'm using this kind of flip chart for a reflection, for a campfire round, to collect ideas. And this is a bit too much, but there was a lot of color and big one art, and I put it in. But in general, it's too big because you're not so much place now for ideas. But you can put this idea on cards. But I prefer to put these black lines on it and then collect the ideas from people around the campfire. Yes, and I started with this yellow, and then I put this orange in, so as Heather did, and then I put the red in, and then I tried a bit with this letters, and yeah, so this is.
They look great. They look like they're on fire.
They're on fire. They are no the idea's on fire, and I think that might be a good idea if you work with younger people, and if you plan camps, and if you have to collect ideas for the last evening or the big theater evening or whatever, you can use this sort of flip chart, and it's great to use the big one art. This is the number 801, because this I needed some brown, but I like this color 801, and I decided to take it because if I would take 800, I think it's too dark, and so I decided to have this one here. Yeah. Okay, another ombre from you, Heather. Do with another ombre. I think it's hot. Here in Germany we have 30 degrees, so it's a bit hot today. And if there's some campfire, it's getting hot. Oh, I can
All
see
right. Well, let's
markers.
cool it down.
Let's
Yeah,
cool
let's
down,
cool it down with
please.
some
Cool.
cool colors,
Let's
right?
cool down.
All right. So I'm going to be using the 301, the 302, and the 300 to cool this down. And again, I'm going to go ahead and use the same pad here, but this time, let's see. Let me find this. I'm just going to make a quick note to myself that my baseline is going to be here. My X height is going to be here.
Okay.
My ascender and then my descender is going to be about here. So I love that this entire hand lettering learning pad for practicing is totally compatible with the Big One Art, even though we designed it before the Big One Art came out. Isn't that incredible? It's like, wow, how did Neuland do that? And so this time I'm going to write the word ocean. And it's funny, I don't really need the ascender and the descender because these are going to be all lowercase, but I'm going to do all lowercase letters. And I'm going to write ocean. Oops. Is that the right color? I started with the wrong color. Let's do this
Oh
again.
no.
It's okay. We've got plenty of pages here.
Wow.
So I'm going to
if
do
you
brush
cool.
letter. Yeah.
Whew.
I'm going to do
Yes.
brush letter, if I can remember how to spell ocean. But look
Ocean.
how big this letter is. The letter A here would
Yes.
normally be this size
Yeah.
in a number 1. So we're more than doubling the size when we use the Big One Art.
Love it.
And a couple of pro tips is that know that this is a big marker, so that means you're going to use bigger muscles. So it may feel a little awkward at first when you're writing with the Big One Art sitting down. When you get to the wall, what will happen is you're going to actually use less of your fingers and your wrists and more of your elbows and your shoulders. And you
Okay.
might be moving more throughout your hips.
Is it good against wings? So you know this wings here. So I think if you can train this with a marker, it's a good idea.
With the wings? What do you mean?
The
Are you
wings here.
talking about
So
our
this, you can see
I
the arms. So let's train it
Yes.
for summer.
I think we need to have the big one art marker workout. I think that's a great idea.
So I think that's cool. So
We
have a big one marker workout. That would
Yeah, I
suit
think
me. So if
we'll
there's
know in
anybody
about
in the
9
chat,
months, won't we?
I will invite you to show us how we can do this in the next live session. But it feels a
Exactly.
bit like
Okay.
swimming pool now. It's great.
Does it? Does it?
Yes,
Oops, I'm
I
off the
feel good.
screen there
I
a little
feel
bit. Sorry.
very refreshed. Is it refreshed?
Way cooler. We were on fire there for a minute. Ah,
Wow, Yen.
this is so damp, and I don't think you can see it, but it's so juicy, this particular marker, that it's starting to
Yes.
break
This is
up
the
the paper
300.
here.
Yeah. I can see
Yeah,
the
this is
surfer on the
my favorite
wave.
blue color.
The blonde surfer on the
Yes,
wave.
that's right. That's right. So now we're using, again, we've got this is the big one doing brush letter, but yes, absolutely. So this is the wave, isn't it?
Yes, this is the wave.
All right, let's see what you've got. I know you did something too, because you actually inspired my words. We talked about the color, but you inspired my words. So let's see what you've got.
Oh, I have a sailing boat, a small sailing boat. It's a German. It's a Gorch Fock, the German sailing train. It's okay, but this I started with the 301. Yes, I started with the 301, and then I put the 302, and then I filled my favorite color. My favorite blue is the 304. I call it navy blue, so you see it's very well. Yes, they come in empties too. And if you have all these new markers and said, "Oh, this is great! I have all these new markers, but I'm missing the number 701, like the fish, or 304," then you have to order these empty markers, and then you fill these with your favorite colors. Isn't it great? I love it. So I did this. This is the 304, and I put this in. Yeah, and the fire I started above. So as you said, for the letters, and for the waves I started. No, for the fire I started on the bottom, and here I started above. So first these clear colors, so the 400 301, and then the 302, and then the 304. Yeah, so, and it's from the clear blue to the dark blue. Yeah. And then we have a nice little chart to talk about our group, our team, and yes, as I know, sailing is the best way to form a very good team, and it's not always necessary to have that big ship, but if you talk to your team, it's nice to have a flip chart with a boat and with the idea with a boat. What is necessary for our team to form the best team, to get this project done? Yeah, and so here you can collect ideas, and I would prefer here to collect these ideas with e-statics. So I know we talk about the big one art, but today we can talk with this too. And I like this blue. This matches very well. And so if you collect ideas that you like to share, I would say use these e-statics in clear blue, because this works, and this is a neutral color to come up with. And if you take them away later, oh, just one little idea. So if you take these, the spontaneous idea, I hate it if there's a spontaneous idea. But do you know these ones? These are these sand beige. And if you have some very, very important ideas, I like to combine these two. So you have these important things. So perhaps it is a drop. It's a good drop shadow. It's a great color to combine with these wonderful blues. And yeah, so have the similar cards. You can take them away. You can take them away even on a sailing boat because it's no problem if they're getting wet. Yeah, back to you.
Oh, I want to say something first. I love that flip chart because you could use it over and over.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. I would prefer. So if you're on a sailing boat, I would prefer it on a top chart, so a bit smaller. But if you are in the room, why not have this on a pin board? And or you prefer it on foam board, some sort of foam board. I love using foam board, so this is a this is a small idea. Just drink. So prepare it on foam board. It's great to have this and take it away and put it wherever you want to have it, and then you can put it on a pin board again and again, and use this. Yeah. So it's a bit sustainable, just a bit.
Yeah, I think that's important. All right. So I just want to double check because I was seeing in the chat that Sigrid couldn't hear you, but I could hear you just fine. And I checked on YouTube. It looks like it's okay. But we have a great question. It looks
Oh,
like Sigrid was also asking how long does the marker last? And we had a couple of great answers in the chat. The marker is refillable. So I've had some of my Neuland markers for over 11 years now. So we know that the whole body casing can last a very long time.
yes.
The nibs are replaceable. So they will, this marker could essentially last forever for as long as the plastic will hold up,
Yeah.
which we know that will last. So you can refill it with ink and nibs. I will say the first time I wrote with the big one, I was so excited. I had my flip chart set up and I wrote 3 flip charts in a row as not as quickly, but pretty quickly. That's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
paper and filling it up all full of letters. I filled it up, let's see, 3 full flip charts before it looked like it started to run out.
Yeah.
But then I put the cap on it and I came back maybe 10 minutes later and the ink had gotten back to the nib that
Mm-hmm.
I had just taken so much out of that nib. But I
Yeah.
still haven't even filled that marker again. So, it could last a very, very long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
How
think
about you? What's your thoughts on this?
one of my markers, I think one of my first markers is nearly 20 years old. 21 years, I think, or 22. Because I bought them when I started as a trainer, yes, in my job. 2000,
Mhm.
it was 1999, and then I bought my first Neuland markers, and I put them into my desk just for me. It was great to take them out, and I have some of them. So because you can refill them, so the blacks, I refill the blacks with waterproof. That's not that I would suggest you because it's good to have some outliners and some blacks, but I put the black outliner ink in all my black markers. Sorry. No, and they survived. So I'm changing the nibs and I'm filling them up, and so yes, they last incredible long. So
That's right.
yes, I just remember that I rolled on a marker with my chair, with my wheelchair here in my office. Then I destroyed the marker. It was a pity,
Oh,
but that was my weight that destroyed the marker, not the material, just me. And yeah, I think 3 flip charts. You write around 3 flip charts, and then you have to pause the marker and you take another one.
Yeah.
I think you should have 5 markers at hand, 5 wedge nips in black. So it's a good idea to have them in your trainer pocket and then change them. I think after 2 flip charts, if you fill them
Yeah.
with a lot of text, you should change it and then you take it again and you write there. So sometimes they need a little pause. Who doesn't
Yeah.
need a pause?
That's right. That's right. That's excellent. Good. Well, are we ready to move on? We want to make some words and make them sparkle.
Yes, let's do this. So
All
we
right.
it's a good idea. So you, I invited you to do so.
That's right.
But
Thank you.
I want to
Yeah,
see your twinkle with
that's right.
this. So let's see.
Let's
Guess.
do this. All
Guess
right. Let's
sand.
zoom in.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be using any lined paper for this part. This is where you can definitely follow along with me, and you can follow along whether you have um, a big one art or any type of art marker at all. I also put in the chat earlier the link to Twinkle. And so this is a free lettering style that I've taught. And the reason why it's free is it's really pretty much yours, right? Because it's really based on your own handwriting. Now, many people know that I teach a lot of lettering classes, and I do not really condone using your handwriting because that limits what you can do on the page. But this lettering style is so versatile that we want to start with our handwriting. And the first thing you want to do is anytime you grab a new marker, especially a wedge, or I'm sorry, a brush nib marker like this, you want to check, you want to check
Sure.
how you want to check how the brush condition is. And so it's this beautiful conical shape, and you want to make sure that it's not, flat on one side. If you are using the ergonomic grips, then eventually what will happen is that your marker will start to be a little bit more flat on top, and then it will develop what's called an underbelly. So what you want to do is really figure out what can this marker do. So if you hold it as flat as you can and push as hard as you can, because you're not damaging the very tip, you're just using the side, that's going to give you the largest mark you can make. And then I always say, like a ratchet, click, 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 you're going to change your angle slightly, not use as much pressure, and you're going to notice that it's going to be a little bit smaller of a line. And then again, less pressure. And then the very lightest ones you're going to get are just on the tip of the nib. But you don't want to use that a lot unless you're drawing, but just don't put a lot of pressure on the very, very tip. But once you figure out where you are most comfortable, meaning how is the marker being held in your hand, how is your hand resting on the page, and then where does it naturally come down to the page, and then what is the natural weight that you like to use, that's going to tell you, and you can see those, that's very similar to what I have here, that's going to show you this is going to be your natural pretty much your natural stroke. And we want to work from what's natural when we're doing lettering, because that's what we're going to fall back into. We see all these beautiful things online, we try to do them, but it doesn't always take. But that's the beauty of Twinkle, is once you figure out what thickness you want, now you can start adding letters. And I'm just going to write a few letters here, the actual word letters, in my own personal handwriting. Now, I can decide, do I just want it like that? And now we've got this nice, there's some thicks and thins in here. It's not quite twinkling yet. It's twinkling when we add some serif. Notice that my sizes of my letters are smaller and bigger. Notice that my baseline is going up and down. These letters love to dance. They love to twinkle. And so what we call letters without a serif, I did a serif there, is called sans serif. And then when we add a serif, and I don't put a serif on the E, then what we have here are areas in our letter, and it doesn't have to be in every single terminal. Notice that with the R, I only have it to the left. With the I only have it to the left. So it's not on every single one. knowing where to put those serifs is a personal choice, but really knowing where they go will take some studying of some other lettering styles. But this is what's really great about Twinkle is you can choose how you want to design your letters. And then when we get to the capitals, and again, you can go, you can learn Twinkle. It was a class that Zandra and I taught. But once you get to these capital letters, say I'm going to do H's, you can decide if you want a high X height or a low X height, or if you want it in the middle. And I like to keep it consistent pretty much with all of my other lettering styles. But when it comes to Twinkle, it can vary. You really want these letters to dance. And if you haven't already, definitely download the handout that I put in the chat because you're going to see that I wrote out an entire pangram. That's a sentence alphabet. So should I just write some letters or do you want to see a pangram? What would you like, Zandra?
I think. Do you have an idea for? I think I'd like to see the word glitter.
Oh, glitter. Okay, great. All right. Well, I'm going to do a lowercase g because I just love the lowercase g. And I just drew
Yes.
a couple of baselines here and they're just wavy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So a G, which I love to write, I'm going to put this nice little tail here. And this is going to be a 2-story G. For me, the twinkle goes pretty quickly because it's very natural to my handwriting. Notice that I dotted the I with a star. You don't have to, and it's just 3 lines. It's not 4. So you could start if you wanted to. You could start with a downstroke. There we go, and then do it like that. However you make it, but I'm going to see. Sometimes I wait to see if I want to cross both of my T's, but I think I'll keep these separate. The E can be a couple of different ways. I like to throw that crossbar out in the E there. And one of my favorite parts is that R that comes up and then back down. And I like that because now I can repeat this in other letters like the letter N, the letter M. It's got a little bit of a natural curve to it.
Looks great.
And there's some folks out there that are very much straight letter people, and some people like me where I write much more expressive, curvy letters. So yeah. Any other words? And if there's anybody you want to see me write something,
in
please
the
put
chat,
that in the chat.
perhaps.
I see Allison wants me to write a pangram. Well, you'll definitely see that in the handouts.
Yes.
Yeah.
But perhaps there's an idea in the chat. So I can
Yeah.
share my letters.
Yes.
Perhaps so. Let's see. So I glittered a bit around here. So glitter. So it's 7:01. So because of this, it's necessary to have the glitter. Perhaps we can have some nice white from the acrylic into it for that this is so put some little stars in it or to put some nice little glow in it, but I think we have to wait a bit. So it's not dried that good anymore at this moment, and so I think it would be better to wait and then to decorate it.
We have another word in the chat. Can
Oh, we
you do
have.
a side-by-side? Can you do a side-by-side with us writing Stardust?
Yes.
I don't know. Do you want to
Stardust.
do that?
We both, yes.
Yeah.
We can do, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to do a light blue just because blue
know, I'm not-
seems.
I can't. So I can see you.
Oh, you can do whatever. Oh, you can't do it. Okay. Well, you can watch me.
But I watch you doing this. So I invited you to do this. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. And I'm going to do it
Stardust,
sort of
yes.
2 words. No, I can make it into 1 word. Notice that when I do the D, I am going to put the serif. I'm just going to put it to the right of that.
Okay.
Because to me, all these little serifs that are in every single place, I think they look so cheesy, or I should say, maybe not cheesy, but they look juvenile when they're in at the end of each one. It's sort of like when we're children and we learn how to write letters, and then when we write our letters, we put these little dots on the ends of each one of them,
Okay.
like this. And I call it the Q-tip effect. In the United States, we have
Yes.
these Q-tips we stick in our ears.
In
And I
Q-tip
think when you
style.
do it this way, I think it looks like a child did it.
Yes.
So, which I have no problem with that if that's what you're going for, but that's not the kind of letters that I would take seriously or
Okay.
that I would make. So, it's funny, so many people say that I judge letters, and it's like, "No, it's funny, I think I just judge where we put serifs."
Better judging
I
than
think
educate letters.
that's right. I can find something redeeming about just about any letters. So, yeah,
I love this A
exactly.
because the A is very
Yeah.
playful.
It
So,
is, and
but
I'm
it's
only
this
putting
it's
that.
this
Yeah.
A with a longer um under the belly, the longer stroke under the belly, as in Stardust, as you have written it in Stardust.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very playful, and it's okay with Twinkle to have some of these playful
Yes,
letters.
that's right.
Yeah.
So sometimes we would draw an A like this,
Yes.
but then if I put a serif there, I just think that that looks funny.
N- mm,
So that's not something I would do there
yeah.
either. And it's not. I
Zack,
write that this is
away.
called a two-story. What's that?
I said, okay, away.
Away to go away. Yeah. So
Go away.
I love this two-story A. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
it's great.
All
I have
right.
seen
So
this.
how
Yeah.
would we make Stardust sparkle?
So we can have some black spots around.
Yeah,
So these, I call it.
maybe black.
It started. Yes. No, this is flowers. No,
Oh, that's a flower.
that's a flower. I thought of. Let me show you that. I have to change
Hmm.
this camera. So I think it's like this. So with a smaller one, like that, perhaps. With some stars around. So yes, there's some this.
I like it. Yeah, we can do that. A Stardust
But you have
star.
to make this sound. It just works
Oh,
with a
psht,
sound.
psht.
Look at this. This looks cooler like with a sound. And yeah,
That's right. Psht,
that's right.
psht.
And if you do this, put this on. Um,
I think you're much better at that.
yes,
Well, we
it's flying
certainly
now.
can get that beautiful brush look, and look at how fine these lines are
Yeah,
compared to these thicker lines that I wrote earlier. So yeah, that just again shows the versatility. So
this is what I have to
excellent.
practice. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that. So for me, it's I have to practice this because be cautious and do it not that
Mm-hmm.
fast. And so for me, I would use this one. But you're right. You have to train this. You have to take a couple of tries, a couple of minutes or to try this
Yeah.
out first, and to train your hand,
Mm-hmm.
not to use this as a
That's right.
big marker, to use this as a smaller marker too. So yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah,
So should we start practicing then? Talk about practice. Or
practice.
what do we want to talk about next?
Oh, in general, I wanted to talk about layering on a flip chart, for example.
That's right.
But
Do that.
we
Let's
have
over to you.
45 minutes. It's 45.
What?
Oh no.
Yes,
So
you
okay.
talk now.
Yes, and let's try. Let's do this. And change. Yeah,
Ooh, it sounds like you're making something. Let's see your desktop, Zandra.
my desktop. Yes. So, yes, I changed it a bit. I prefer, or I tried out to use these layers. Oh yeah. And for example, if I'm using a flip chart for explaining the next exercise, I don't want to write, please build groups of three, please I go into room number. I don't want to write sentence with this. I prefer to put this in boxes, and for this I have these cards or boxes. I can show you here. Oh, I prepared them. It's named Fünfergruppe, means teams of 5, a group of 5. And I prefer to put these on the bottom of a flip chart. Form groups of 5s. Please examine something. So examine, or discuss something, or draw something. Because, it's better, it's easier to explain. So I put these cards on the bottom of a flip chart. So I have more space above to explain what's necessary to do now. I think I will change this again. Sorry for that. So if I'm putting this on the bottom, if this is our flip chart, and so we have enough space here. I take another color because it's better readable. We have enough space to explain what the task is. So you have a title. Oh, it's the title. And then you have this space to explain what to do. And sometimes it's good to have the idea to give them not to explain in long sentences what people should do. It's good to work with these pictograms. And what I like do with these big one arts is to layer around. So you can see here. Oh, you can see here. I think I will explain it I will put it on the flip chart. It's better.
So saying is that you've got the instructions.
Yeah. Yes. I have to change here. So if you use the flip chart, for example, put this away. This is the task. Here is the task. And you put these cards in here. And I prefer to use this, the big one art, to put the pictograph or the icon in, and then use the black marker to put the letters above. So you can do this with with the art marker too, but it is a lot of fun to draw these things bigger. So if you draw this with the big one art, you use more space on this card, and then you put the letters on or the words on, and it's easier to get the words with a picture behind. So and for me it's interesting to use this first this layer with this icon, and then the importance of the words. And this is what I try out on different flip charts. So if you make some drawings before you put your information on a flip chart, this can be something natural. You can draw some leaves on a flip chart, or you can draw something, some buildings on a flip chart, and then you put the text in, so that you layered it a bit like Photoshop. So you put the background in, and then you put the words on it. And this is what I think we should try out, and we can try out with this big one art too. So this is a picture that pops out, but if I did this just with the 102 or the 101, so it will be behind, and I can draw something above, and it's some sort of frame behind. This is what I wanted to say. I hope this comes That's
I think you did. And I think you answered the question for Sigrid. She said, "What material do you use to prepare the sticky notes?" And it sounds like I love the idea that you're using the Big One art to lay down the icon and then using another marker, black marker on top.
yeah, yeah.
Just make sure that you're using a light color as the
Yes,
background
yeah.
so that it
So
doesn't
yeah,
conflict with the
for
lettering.
that,
Yeah.
so sometimes it depends on the light and on the time of the day that you can take photos from the 102. I like the
Mm.
102 for this layering stuff because it's not it will be seen, but it's not that strong. And so
Yeah.
I like it. But if you take the photo for the documentation of the workshop day in the evening, it's it's not easy to see. So because it perhaps it disappears on the photo. So if you use this, for example, in the morning of this workshop, take the photo after using that by lunch, and then
Yes.
it will be there. After in the afternoon, it can disappear. So for this reason, so you can use the 101. Yes, perhaps a yellow is good, but I'm not sure if
Or
the yellow, the
or a
500 is a good
light.
idea. I think it can be one of these, perhaps the 501, or
Mm.
some, or perhaps it sometimes it depends on the subject. It can be a 401 too.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think it depends if you're going to reproduce, if you're going to take a picture of it and reproduce it, right? If you're
Yeah,
not, I think some of those really light colors are fine.
yeah.
I try to just stick away. I stay away from the 102 and the 501 just because of I do so much reproduction in
Mm-hmm.
my work. But I think they're
Mm-hmm.
lovely for adding depth to a piece.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so which cards are you using? You're using the Instacards? And
Ah,
Noyland is
yes,
actually asking, have you cut the
yes.
corners of the Instacards?
This is the Instacart. This is the Instacart, and this is the corner cutter.
So,
And you have to have an interesting movie and television, and you sit on the sofa, you prepare this card. So these are a lot of cards, and I sat there and rounded up the edges because I said, okay, nobody knows what it is. It's the Instacards. These are all Instacards from Neuland, and this is the green one. So
I
yeah,
love it.
these are the Instacards. But I'm addicted to these
Rounded corners.
rounding. How is it called? What is the English word for that?
I don't know, rounded corners? Maybe someone knows in the chat and they can put it in the
Perhaps,
chat.
yes, the rounded corners. I love it.
Yep. There you go. Good. Well,
Great.
that's awesome. Yes, and those come in a couple of different sizes as well. And I love hearing all the different things that you do with the big one, Zandra. And I'd love to hear from other people in the chat if you could
Yes.
tell us what you're doing with the big one. And keep in mind, if you scroll up, you can find the very first link that I sent, that I put up, that has the link to the handout, because we've got all kinds of pro tips. It's 7 pages of professional tips that we're using the big one for. So let's see. Yeah,
So
corner
let's see in the
punch
chat.
is Roy is dialing in, I think, from South Africa. And yeah, so there's lots of different tools that you can use for rounding the corners. But Zandra, come back. What's the tool? What's the actual brand or the tool that you're using?
The actual what tool?
Your corner
Oh,
punch. Yeah.
I don't know. I ordered it at Amazon. I don't
Okay.
know. Ah, you can see. This is
Yeah.
proven here. This is yellow and this is green.
Yeah.
So
All your
these are
different colors.
Instacarts.
That looks
Ha.
like a nice sturdy one. I have a little
Yes.
bitty one that I
So
travel
it's
with.
called,
It's teeny
okay, yes,
tiny.
here's the title. I have to read it. Just wait. Kodomaru. Kodomaru. So don't laugh at it.
Yep.
It's
It's so
so
great.
Kodomari. Oh, it's Pro. Pro. I think it's
Uh-huh.
because of S, M, and L. I can cut in S, in M, and in L, but I always use L. Who needs S? So this is not cut, a round cut. So crazy for crazy people that have a lot of time. Use
Yeah,
this,
you
but
must.
you're not able to use this with these. That doesn't work. That is proven too. So yes, I screwed up with that. Sorry. I think this is not sharp enough. But if Neuland would invent something to use, that would be nice. I would
Oh, on the
really
Instacart,
recommend it.
yeah, on the aesthetics, yeah.
Crazy. An aesthetics round cutter.
Yes, sometimes Zandra and I get in trouble because we hack some of our Neuland products a little too far.
No,
It's okay.
never. No, I don't know. So,
Oh, we have a good time. So does
oh,
anyone have any questions or anything they'd love to add?
so let's see. Have a look in the chat.
Elena is saying being grateful when it came out. She was very grateful when the big one came out for live recording. It's just power magic. That's absolutely right. I love the versatility of this because we can do so much. I can write just as small as the number one art as I can with the big one art. So it crosses, several hierarchy boundaries. Yeah.
Oh, oh, it's also there. Greetings to South Africa.
Yeah, brush lettering is great. And again, remember that you're going to have to use more of your shoulders and your elbows when you're standing at the wall to make those longer lines.
And it's even
Yeah.
possible to. So I can see Schöner Schulen there in the chat.
Mhm.
And the ladies have been to our bar camp at the weekend. And I took a session at Gabi, and she showed me how to use this for
Beautiful.
ribbon lettering, some sort of ribbon lettering in the
Ribbon
bar
lettering.
camp.
Uh-huh.
I messed it up with the R, but I love it. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 701. And I like it very much. So this is what you learn in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you for
Can
being
I give
here.
a really quick commercial too?
Yes.
Well, I said that and then I don't have my book here.
Oh, yes.
Ah,
So I put you in. Yeah.
no, don't make me big. I can't find my book.
You can't find
Oh
the
my
book?
gosh, I can't believe I lost it.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, I want to I want to thank all of the German. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. I want to thank all of the German listeners for dialing in because Neuland just came out with a German translated book of lettering journey. So I'm
Drum
very
roll.
excited about it, but it's so funny that I put it aside and now I don't know where I put it.
I can sing
Oh, here we go.
something. In the
So,
meanwhile.
for those of you who are familiar with this version, this is my version, which is black and white on the inside. But you can order this, and I'll put the link in the chat. And also, Neuland has a color English version that they sell, and they just came out with the German version of Lettering Journey, fast, functional, and fun. Practical marker tips. So again, you anywhere in this book, even though I wrote this book before the big one art came out, what happens is in each section of the book, I have what markers you can use to create that particular lettering style. And so in this case, it shows the number one art, which means that anytime you see a brush marker, you can use that to write that particular lettering style. So right now I have 6 different lettering styles that you can use the big one art marker for, and 3 of them are in my book. And Neuland also has hosted the online version of the course of the book as well. So I will put all of that in the chat so that we have that. Lettering Journey Express is the online course, and that's available on Neuland's learning page. They have a lot of really great classes. And come back, Sandra, because we taught a class along
Yes.
with Elena. Uh-huh.
Yes. I come back.
Yes.
I'm
We taught a
here.
class. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to put all of these in the chat. But
Okay.
we taught a class. What was it called? It was Beyond the Screen
Beyond the
with
screen.
Elena.
and
Hmm.
you find it in Neuland on the Neuland page, on the Neuland Learning page. It's a recording, and there we tried out a lot of things we can use online and on site. Great stuff.
That's right. Yeah. So if you wanted to learn more about the different products that Neuland has, we talk about how to do that in our facilitation practices. Less about lettering, more about how we use it in facilitation.
I'm using it
Yeah.
on flip charts, and if you want to know more, so this is the part of the host. Oh, host. This is a flip chart. This is our book. I read it. I read it. I wrote it together with Tanja Wehr, and so it's about flip chart templates. So sorry, that's in German, but if there's somebody who said, "Oh, I pay for the American version, let me hear your," and so we can do this. But this is in German, and I think but you can understand what we are doing, and because we work with a lot of templates. This is one of my favorite pages because there's something you should know, and there's something I explained. So because this is the idea for layering, you can see this page. You will see this page, and there's the word Unternehmen. That means enterprise. That means company, and there you can see these layers. Behind you see this enterprise or everything what that's part of it, and everything that's important is black. So it started in gray, and we said, okay, it's good to have some nice people in the contact with clients. So we want to talk about that part. So it's black. Or we want to talk about people that are leading this enterprise. So we mark this part. Or we want to talk about more sustainability. We mark this part here. So this is what I meant with layering. So with clear colors and getting more and more more and more important on the flip chart to take out the details, and you can do it if you present the agenda, or you can do it on the day. So first we take this out, and then we take this out and that. So this is the idea of lettering. You find all these ideas, 180 flip chart ideas, in this book, and yes, it's available. It's available in Germany, or it's also available as an ebook, and we put the links into our document for download. So now we're back together. After this short marketing part, I think, yes, we can do this.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to that. And it might be helpful for some of you who don't have these books to have them in your library so that you can use them as reference as you're working. I love to see what people are putting in the chat about using their markers in graphic recording gigs and using it to enhance titles. And it looks like we have a few questions here.
Yes.
Uh, Yep. Oh, thank you. Someone sold it looks like someone sold your book today, a couple of them in your workshop. That's excellent.
Yes, this is Schöner Schuhen, these wonderful ladies from Switzerland. You should,
Ah, nice.
if you come to Europe next time, you have to
Yes.
be with them. They are wonderful. You have to connect.
Wonderful.
So, I think Roy Blumenthal is asking if you have to shake and pump the marker before writing.
Not this marker.
No, no shaking.
Nope, not this
No
marker.
shaking, not
Just
this.
the acrylic and the chalk.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We wish you lots and lots of luck with your Big One Arts, and hope that you will tag us on Instagram. I'll put our handles in the chat.
Yes, if you put it in the chat again, because Sigrid says she can't see any links, infos from Heather, neither the script. So let's put it again into the chat and oh, okay. So let's say goodbye, oh.
Thank you,
So
everyone, for joining us.
thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here and have a lot of fun with the Neuland Art 1 marker. Yes, big one, Art 1. Bye.